Hello, good evening. Welcome to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. My name is Salom Adunu. Tonight I'm here with
Nete Ajaho.
Coming up over the next 90 minutes.
I am by this letter humbly and respectfully asking His Excellency, the President and eminent members of the Council of State to forward the petitions against me to me and allow me at least 7 days after receipt of same to provide my response to you.
Chief Justice Gertrude Tokoni requests copies of petitions seeking to remove her from office. Meanwhile, writs have been filed at the Supreme Court invoking its original jurisdiction in respect of the processes set in motion following 3 petitions to remove the Chief Justice from office. The plaintiffs want the Supreme Court to declare that the processes so far carried out are null and void and of no effect. We'll find out more. Also coming up,
I'm doing a paper to Cabinet that look, the fuel that we buy, let's dedicate just 10 pesos per liter just for fire.
Interior Minister proposes a 10 peso levy on petroleum products to retool the Ghana National Fire Service. Should this be the approach to equip critical state institutions to deliver on their mandate? Also coming up,
they've traced about 40 of them to a particular terminal or warehouse in Pung, which belongs to an Indian man of extraction.
Government traces 40 out of some 1,300 containers belonging to the ECG, which were reportedly missing at the Tema port. The Energy Minister vows action. There is more on this later. Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for more on this and other stories on Eyewitness News and in business.
MTN Ghana records 34.5% revenue growth in 2024.
There is more business in the next 50 minutes. Eyewitness News is live across the country and on our affiliates around the globe at citinewsroom.com. Your comments are welcome via WhatsApp line 0549 986 996. You can follow me on X at Selom Adonu. The hashtag, as always, is Citi Newsroom. Natalie has the very first story.
Chief Justice Gertrude Tokoni has formally written to President John Dramani Mahama requesting copies of petitions filed against her that seek her removal from office. Her request comes after the President received 3 petitions and forwarded them to the Council of State for advice in accordance with constitutional provisions.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. So we have a copy of the Chief Justice's letter to the President and a few other documents here with us. My colleague Hansen Ajiman is joined me in the studio to help us go through some of these. I mean, the points he raises. He raises very important points, generally bordering on the rule of natural justice, etc. Hansen, welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you.
Yes, what has the Chief Justice been telling the President in that letter she wrote to him?
So the fundamental thing she says to the President is that per the processes and per her understanding of the law, she ought to be finished with the petitions that have been presented to the President, for which the President is consulting the Council of State, and she need to be given days. In this instance, she's asking for 7 days upon which the petitions have been finished to her to respond same to these petitions, so that the Council of State in its consultation with the President will have the benefit of her explanation to the issues that have been raised against her before a decision is taken whether or not a prima facie has been established, for the President to then now establish the committee that will look into the propriety of these petitions. Now, she grounds this point to the fact that she saw the communication from the presidency on social media, which was on March 25, 2025, and up until today, she's not been shown these petitions. Neither has the presidency communicated to her about these petitions. But she believed that a fundamental precept of common law in our constitutional dispensation is that there need to be a respect for persons whose rights are going to be affected by any form of process, whether criminal or civil. And she also makes the point that if you look at the processes for the removal of a superior court judge, the Chief Justice, the first requirement is for the Chief Justice to bring the attention of the judge who has been accused or who a petition has been brought for his or her removal, their attention to that said petition. and said this is a right that every citizen in justice delivery is provided for in the Article 146 procedures. She says that in her time as Chief Justice, she's had to handle 5 of such petitions for removal of Superior Court judges. That's judges from the level of the High Court, Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. And at every point in time when she has been faced with such petitions, what she does first is to give these petitions to the judges in question for them to at least respond to the contents of the petition in her determination of whether there's a prima facie case to be answered before she takes a decision to set up an investigative committee. Now, based on this, she's saying that if there's a petition for her removal as a Chief Justice, it is only fair and right in law for the president to have at least brought her attention to these petitions, giving her a copy of these petitions, and then allowing her to respond to these petitions, so that the Council of State, which will advise the president on whether a prima facie case has been established, will have the benefit of her response to these issues at the time of deliberating on whether to form the committee, where 2 are made up of justices of the Supreme Court and 3 other persons who are not lawyers. And so as a result of that, she's requesting from the president to forward the petitions against her, and then the president should allow her at least 7 days after receipt of those petitions to provide her response to the issues that have been raised, so that the Council of State can make a determination as whether or not that investigative committee should be constituted.
Do we know when she delivered this to the presidency?
Well, the letter has no date of receipt, and so we are not aware. But in this letter, she indicated that as of March 27, 2025, she had not been shown the 3 petitions. And so if the letter is referring to today, which is March 27, then is either it was presented today or prepared today.
I also see that the cover page of it has the president of the Supreme Court, the President Association of Magistrates and Judges, and the 3 the President Ghana Bar Association there. And this was copied to them in a way. It says request to be given copies of petitions submitted against Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu before conclusions of consultations between His Excellency the President and the Council of State under Article 146. What exactly is she trying to do here?
So I think that she's trying to make sure that all the persons or relevant bodies that ought to be aware of this letter from her to the president are aware. So the copies of the letters primarily were sent to the president, that's John Dramani Mahama. It was sent to Honorable Do Ajao, who is the chairman of the Council of State and a former Speaker of Parliament. It was sent to the Honorable Justice of Ekufu, who is a member of the Council of State and former Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. So these are the 3 principal officers that the petition was sent to. It's interesting that the former Chief Justice of Ekufu has been petitioned when a copy has been given to her, when the chairman of the Council of State was also given a copy. But in addition to that, she decided to give one to the president of the Supreme Court, but which obviously will be the Chief Justice, I believe, and then the president of Association of Magistrates and Judges, and the president of the Governor Bar Association. So essentially making sure that the entire legal fraternity will at least be aware of her communication with the president. The only noticeable group I see missing here is that of the Parliament of Ghana.
Because perhaps Parliament doesn't have a direct role to play in this. We are aware that some two writs have been filed at the Supreme Court. One by Vincent Asefua, and the other one by a gentleman by name Ebenezer Osei Owusu Kindly take us through what they are seeking the court to do. First, let's start with Vincent Asifo.
So Vincent Asifo instructed his lawyers today, led by the former Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame. Essentially, they are seeking from the court to also make a determination that upon a careful read of Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, Article 23 and Article 296 of the Constitution, the president, when is presented with a petition like this, cannot consult the Council of State without first notifying the Chief Justice, who is the subject of the petition, for the Chief Justice to respond to same. So essentially, and the grounds for which the second petition is also being sent to the Supreme Court is basically the same, and which is equally the same content of the letter the Chief Justice has written to the President and to the head, the chairperson of the Council of State.
So in the case of the second person, Ebenezer Osewusu, he has, in addition to the writ, filed a motion on notice for an order of interlocutory injunction pending determination of the suit. So what is he seeking to do? He's seeking to hold the hands of the President and the Council of State from doing their work?
Yeah, so essentially, if having filed the injunction application, if that injunction application is heard and granted, what he's seeking to do is to say that until the Supreme Court determines that the procedure that has been adopted by the President, i.e., receiving the petitions and going to the Council of State to consult without bringing the attention of the Chief Justice to these petitions, makes the process unconstitutional. Until the Supreme Court makes a determination, the President is injuncted and stopped from dealing with these petitions as far as the removal of the Chief Justice is concerned.
I see. Let's speak to one of the plaintiffs, one of the persons who have gone to the Supreme Court on this matter. He is in the person of Vincent Asifo, citizen of Ghana, but of course he's a member of Parliament for the Otafo constituency. Hello, Vincent, welcome to the program. This is Eyewitness News. Thanks so much for joining us. Yes, we've seen a copy of your writ to the Supreme Court. Kindly tell us exactly what you want the Supreme Court to do for you.
Well, let me say a very good evening to you, your cherished listeners. I've gone to the Supreme Court for a very simplistic reason. I'm of the opinion that the law on interpretation has evolved till today. And it started from days where you could simply give literal meaning to an act or a constitution, and you could simply give a makeshift interpretation to a document, an act or a constitution. But got into a level where you have to even use the coding. All these went through cases like the Hagen's case, the Festus period case, and also case of PSM. Today, as far as Ghana is concerned,
Vincent, if you can reposition yourself, because we really want to hear you, but your line appears to be breaking up a bit. So kindly reposition yourself and restate very well. Just go ahead.
We are now dealing with the positive interpretation of our Constitution. And mind you, before any judge or any court sits to interpret an act or the Constitution, you need to do so by way of the letter and the spirit of the Constitution. If anybody makes an argument to you that because something has not been stated clearly in an act of Parliament or a Constitution, and for that matter, a meaning cannot be imputed into it, that person does not understand the positive interpretation, or the person is just trying to play mischief to you. The positive interpretation of our Constitution is that you need the letter and the spirit of same. Where in our Constitution does it state that if you want to remove the Electoral Commission, there is a process that you have to go through? None. But it was a case, or it was a court that determined in pari material that because of how the Constitution, or if like the letter has been, one is impugning, if like a meaning into it, to include a process as to how the Electoral Commission will have to be. removed. So I am of the opinion that let's test the law. Yes, I am going to the Supreme Court to, as it were, pray the Supreme Court to declare it a nullity, the processes that has been triggered by His Excellency the President to go and consult the Council of State on the simple reason that before a prima facie will have to be established by the President, it is my belief that the spirit of the Constitution says that you need to listen to the person. You need to let the person be in the known of the petition that is going to affect his or her rights if a decision is made. And so in the absence of same, I believe that it offends the principle of all the old party. And so I am saying that let us test the law. Let us see if indeed in interpreting the Constitution, it is possible, or it is my understanding, that the spirit of the Constitution shall not or should not be left on us. And that can only happen when we are able to combine the letter and the spirit of the Constitution to give a purposive meaning that will be in consonance with the intent of the framers of the Constitution. And so that's why I'm going to court. And so as we speak, in the absence of a consultation, or if you like, the petition being given, or the President notifying the CJ of the petition, it is my understanding of the law. And I want the Supreme Court, I'm praying the Supreme Court to affirm my understanding that it is a nullity. The Chief Justice will have to be in the known. The Chief Justice will have to give its comment or responses. Then a prima facie case can be formed. You remember, at the time when the special prosecutor was supposed to have been removed, I remember a letter that was written by the Chief Justice, giving an interpretation, combining the letter and the spirit of the Constitution to ask the special prosecutor to provide the special prosecutor with a comment or response as to why a prima facie evidence or case should not be formed against him. And I think that is the proper content, or if like the proper interpretation of the law, because it is not cast, so it is not stated. But when you put a proper interpretation to it, so that you don't affect a personal right of a person, you do not affect the person being listened to. Because if you don't do that, do you know what is going to happen? The Council of State is now going to entertain every frivolous, vexatious, and necessary petitions, and the President will say, because a petition has been given to me, then I am going to consult with the Council of State with unnecessary and frivolous petition. Let us move beyond the literal way of understanding our Constitution. Let us move beyond the literal, or if you like, the simplistic meaning of our Constitution, and put an intention into the Constitution where it will be reasonable for every well-meaning Ghanaian.
So the point you are seeking to make essentially is that because the petition was not forwarded to the Chief Justice for her comment, or for her even to look at least, the whole process is a nullity. What happens then if
procedural impropriety?
If what happens then if the petitions are now given to her to look at before the Council of State begins to make its deliberations and consultative process with the President?
Well, I mean, that ends my matter. I am in court to sit, or if you like, pray the court to make sure that the right procedure is followed. As we speak, I think that it is a procedural impropriety, and same should be declared a nullity.
Because we do not know whether the Council of State has made a decision or has sat on the matter at all. I think that was just done yesterday or 2 days ago. But and if we hear that today the Chief Justice has been given copies of the petition, does that satisfy you?
Before you trigger the process, that is my case, that before you trigger that process of consulting the Council of State, you should have formed a prima facie against the person. Now, in forming the prima facie, it is my understanding that listen to the person whose right is going to be affected.
No, say that again. You said before transmitting, then it means you would have made a prima facie case against the Chief Justice?
Absolutely.
No, because that's not it. If you receive the petition, you forward it to you don't make the determination of prima facie. The president is not the one to make that determination.
I am in court to seek for a true and proper
yes,
interpretation.
but the president doesn't make that determination. That's quite clear in the Constitution. I think that the point really is that before the president forwards it, the president must forward it together with the response of the Chief Justice to the Council of State. That is the contention I hear around generally.
Before the president consults the Council of State, the president should have formed the prima facie. Okay.
No, I don't think I don't think that's what it is. But of course, that's why you are seeking an interpretation. But I think it's quite clear, and so it doesn't even lend itself to any interpretation, does it?
Why do you think so?
Oh, no, because it's clear the president receives it, the president ferries it to the Council of State. So perhaps
that is a letter.
Wait, perhaps if
you have read in the Constitution, right?
yes, perhaps before the Council of State makes a consideration. It's a discourse. Yes, it's a discourse. The president is not the one to sit. To sit,
the combined
Vincent,
effect of the letter and the spirit that should give the purposive meaning of the Constitution. So just don't argue with me that because the letter is saying this, because that is what I'm already disputing.
But Vincent, the president may not have what it takes to determine a prima facie case. The Council of State, by the thinking of the framers of the Constitution, is well endowed. Indeed, it is not for any reason why the former chief or a former Chief Justice is supposed to be on the Council of State and a number of other people, because the framers of the Constitution were of the view that matters like this will come. Indeed, they put in matters like this in the Constitution, referable to the Council of State, because they know that they may have the expertise. The president may not have the expertise to sit and decide that.
Suggesting to me that this our Constitution stipulates everything that is supposed to be done by every institution, every state agency, actors of state. Is that what you're saying? Obviously, no. And that is why interpretations are put onto our Constitution. So I am suggesting to you that yes, the letter of the Constitution can be A, B, C. But when you combine the spirit of same, it should lead you to a different conclusion. So my point is that I am seeking for a true and proper interpretation of Article 1461, 1462, 1463, 6 and 7, and add Article 23 and 296 of the 1992 Constitution to it.
But I don't see a determination. Yes, I have your rate. I don't see
that I am putting to it.
I don't
think that you can fault me for understanding the Constitution the way I want to understand it.
No problem with that. I mean, that's why you're seeking interpretation. But I don't see that in your rate. So, for example, relief 2.
You have to read the affidavit.
Relief, at least looking at the reliefs. II says a declaration that upon the true and proper interpretation of Articles 146, 2 and 4, 6 and 7, 23 and 296 of the Constitution, a failure of the President to notify the Chief Justice and obtain his or her comments and responses to a petition for the removal of the Chief Justice before triggering the consultation process with the Council of State constitutes a violation of Articles 1466, as well as the constitutional protection of the security of tenure of the Chief Justice, who is a judge of the Supreme Court. Yes, but there is no determination of the prima facie by the president here. The president doesn't determine the prima facie.
Before the president, consults the Council of State, it is my understanding that the president has, as it were, formed a prima facie before he goes to consult the Council of State. Assuming that your argument is anything to go by, the president doesn't form any prima facie. He is only consulting the Council of State to form a committee. I am suggesting to you that even before that trigger of a process to consult the Council of State, please listen to the one whose right is going to be affected.
Very well, Vincent Isefua, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. He's a plaintiff in that matter, indeed he's a lawyer, and he's a member of Parliament for the Old Tafo constituency. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Thank you so much, Hansen Ajima, my colleague, who brought us some details of the petitions and the Chief Justice's letter to the President. Mrs. Ajahu has some more stories.
Okay, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has filed another legal action against the Office of the Special Prosecutor, seeking a court order to prevent the Anti-Corruption Agency from labeling him as a wanted person or a fugitive from justice. Mr. Ofori-Atta argues that the OSP has violated principles of administrative justice by continuing to display his photograph and details on its official Facebook page and other platforms. His lawsuit is demanding a mandatory order compelling the agency to erase all references to him as a wanted individual. Ken Ofori-Atta is also seeking an interlocutory injunction to bar the OSP from issuing further press releases or media statements that declare him a fugitive. The case is set to be heard in April 2025. If granted, the injunction will prevent the special prosecutor from making any further public declarations against Ofori-Atta until the court delivers a final verdict.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Oh, jump on now.
Go. Ugomi, at what time will you come back where I don't hear the sound of your car? Why you buy new car?
No, I don't change my car. It be the same ride. It be the fuel way I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so.
This is the type of fuel where they want to. Because now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it, it go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I go drive, sir.
Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mindset be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. Won't pay when I open there.
Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel?
Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you.
Hey, then make a finish my gobe fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why your hand my gobe inside?
I give you info. Make a fill the gobe too small.
Go.
Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
Charlie, where are you?
Boss man, I'm at the bank.
Really? But your car is in front of your house.
Bro, my bank on my phone, Charlie.
Oh, how?
EcoBank, bro. With EcoBank mobile app, I can do everything, anywhere, anytime. Listen, I just checked my account balance, paid Ahmed's school fees, and sent money to my grandma at Wale.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Massa, just download the EcoBank mobile app from the Google Play Store or the App Store, or dial *770# and be your own bank manager.
Manager.
Whether to pay bills or fees, to check account statements, send money across Ghana, abroad, and more, EcoBank mobile app has got it covered. EcoBank Mobile, making everyday people live everyday lives the EcoBank way. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. A number of your messages that have come through on this. Otu Abekan says, seriously, the MPP's posture will not help the cause of the Chief Justice. They are rather justifying the correctness of the move to get her removed. It's a shame. Now from Nadoli Khalil says, please ask Vincent why the MPP is defending the Chief Justice if they have no interest. What are they doing? What they are doing is validating the claim that the CJ has been political in the way she handled issues of state. Mausi Ayebi Einstein, the voter region, said the Chief Justice's demand for the president to provide petitions regarding her removal is needless and undermines judicial independence. Such actions create a precedent where the judiciary appears to be unduly influenced by executive power, eroding public trust. It's crucial for justice to remain impartial and free from political pressures, ensuring a fair legal system for all citizens. Was a predecessor consulted before removed? I'm not sure about which predecessor you're talking about. Now, this matter has come before the Supreme Court before, and in the case of J. Chum versus Attorney General and Brata Kwete, you might have heard this mentioned a few times. A few lines from that particular decision. That about states, I do, however, declare that upon a proper purposive construction of the whole of Article 146 in the context of the Constitution viewed in its entirety, the CJ must be given the benefit of a proud determination of whether a prima facie case has been established against him before the president may lawfully establish a committee to consider a petition for his removal. This prima facie determination is to be made by the president in consultation with the Council of State. Thus, as claimed in the president's 5th the plaintiffs seek relief, the consultation by the President with the Council of State in respect of the appointment of a committee to inquire into a petition for the removal of a Chief Justice has to be determined first whether the said petition discloses a prima facie case before the President may proceed to the appointment of the committee. Again, in consultation with the Council, in the course of my judgment, I also advise the Council of State that it would be prudent for it to evolve a convention by virtue of which an advice of an independent, reputable lawyer would be sought by it as part of the consultative process with the President on the issue. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi. These are excerpts from the Ejechun versus Attorney General matter. Nathalie Neti has some more stories for us.
Now, Interior Minister Alhaji Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak has proposed a 10 peswa levy on every litre of fuel purchased to fund the procurement of fire engines for the Ghana National Fire Service. Expressing concern over the outdated equipment used by firefighters, he noted that their efforts are often hindered by obsolete tools, leading to public criticism. He announced plans to submit an official proposal to the Cabinet for consideration, stressing the need to adequately resource the service. Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak made these remarks yesterday during a visit to the Blue Light section of the Central Business District, which was recently gutted by fire.
I'm doing a paper to Cabinet that, look, the fuel that we buy, let's dedicate just 10 pesos per litre just for fire. Because as we speak, when I went to the Ministry of Interior, I realized that the newest tender that we have was procured in 2014. That's more than 10 years. You and I know the way they run. In about 6-7 years, they become obsolete. Yet the newest tender we have is more than 10 years old. Why? For the whole 10 years, as a country, we have not bought even a single fire tender. If we can do even 5 pesos on a litre, what it means is that we'll have a dedicated fund to support fire.
That was Interior Minister Alhaji Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak.
Now let's talk to Duncan Amo, Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, on his thoughts on this particular one. He speaks for consumers, and so if a levy of 10 pesos is being, the minister is asking a contemplation of this levy onto petroleum products, he surely should have a few things to say about this. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. First of all, is it a good suggestion by the minister that because of how important the Ghana National Fire Service is and the difficulties the state has in providing it with equipment to do its work, a 10 peso levy on petroleum products will be a good source of funding for them to buy their things, tenders, etc.? What do you think about this?
Solomon, good evening to you and then to your listeners. I can appreciate the frustration of the Honorable Interior Minister. It cannot be good enough that for a country that has become a middle-income country, fire tenders are things that we cannot boast of. So there is a problem. But as to whether the solution to that problem is what he is proposing, we would differ greatly. We appreciate that fires across, be they domestic or be they commercial in nature, if you have the Kumasi type of fire on markets, these are commercial properties. If you also have the domestic type, you have houses that one would expect that if we want to do something more sustainable, then probably we would avert the minister's mind to the fact that we could streamline something with the property rates, the rental incomes that the state over the period has not been able to formally pick up. And then again, you also have a situation where the commercial properties have a certain annual renewals that they do with the local assemblies. If we are looking for money to be able to retool the fire service, maybe we should pay a little closer attention to some of these avenues, such that if I'm paying for my property rates, there's a 50 Ghana cedis or 100 Ghana cedis, you do the number of properties that you collect in a year, you may be able to find something to retool the fire service and not necessarily bring further pressure on petroleum pricing. What I would be happy that the minister averts his mind to is the fact that an increase in fuel prices does not only hurt the trotro or the commercial transport operator, but it hurts the government itself even more than the commercial transport operator. Across the country, you have a lot of people of Article 71 standing. You have the MMDs that ordinarily would require central government fueling one way or the other. Anytime you increase fuel price through taxation, you are simply also increasing government expenditure unbeknownst to those, making those propositions. If the government or these VAs, whatever vehicles that the chief directors and other directors, your Supreme Court justices, people that require fueling on the state coffers, anytime you increase taxes, you have increased the threshold of their expenditure, and government would have to bear it. Anytime you increase fuel prices, Salom, you have also increased the cost of government contracts. If I am a contractor and I would need to review my numbers, mostly I would do so because either the currency is not doing well or the cost of, executing, say, a road project will be higher because I'll be consuming more fuel and you have added on. So on the left hand, you would collect. On the right hand, you would spend twice as much. But oftentimes, governments do not pay attention to these things. The thinking is that, okay, we do about 460 million liters a month. So if you do an armchair calculation, multiply that by 10 pesos, and then you are simply getting about 46 million Ghana cedis every single month. If we do a proper and a thorough assessment of what fire service or probably the security agencies levy, there's a levy on fuel currently that is used to pay for the security services consumption, right? If you do a proper and a thorough assessment of what exactly the fire service requires, and let's say it runs into 800, what it would mean is that you should be able to find some money somewhere. But going to fuel, I would want to avert the minister's mind to the fact that it would simply be creating unnecessary hardships for everybody, including the government itself, who would end up even paying way more than it intends to generate, because at the end of the day, they would equally be consuming. The cost of contracts, the cost of their budgets will continue to spiral, because what you spend this year, 260 billion, the following year will go to 340. Not necessarily because the cost of goods and services would have, shot up that much, but because your fuel has gone up, the cost of your contract will balloon. And so I am thinking that maybe we should do a proper and a thorough analysis of the impact of adding 10 pesos on fuel, and now avert the minister's.
Well, what do you say about people who say that this is maybe a quicker way of raising money to fix an urgent problem? We've seen fires around the country in recent times, and there's been the talk that the National Fire Service does not even have equipment which can deal with fires at on high-rise buildings. I mean, we have a number of high-rise buildings coming up every now and then, but the fire service is not properly equipped to do so. This is a low-hanging fruit. This is a way we can quickly get some money to buy them equipment so they operate at optimal level. What do you say?
You see, until we are able to get political actors to appreciate the enormity of pressures on people's pockets, we would always be looking for quick fixes to our problems. And again, like you said, the lowest hanging fruit would always be petrol. And so if you do the numbers, in an armchair fashion, 460 million liters, if we do 10 pesos, 46 million Ghana cedis every single month, it would easily deduce that we'll make money. But that 46 million Ghana cedis you are collecting every month, or 500 million cedis that you may generate within a given year, the cost push factor on your economy could be dire or brazen. Simply because once you do that, your commercial transport operators will now come and say that by the time they buy a gallon, they have paid about 50 pesos. If every day they use 5 to 10 gallons, they have added some cities to their baseline or bottom. And so if they add these numbers, they should go and increase transport fares. Your workers are going to be paying more. The workers are paying more, and that will mean that they will come back to the negotiating table and demand for more salaries. So on one hand, you are seeking for a quick fix. You want the money to be able to retool. But you would have ended up creating a problem on the other hand that will come back to batter your economy, that you may now be looking for a bigger fix for. And so, Salom, I indicated if he does a consultative process, asking the average Ghanaian what we can do to help the fire service, or for that matter, even the military, or any other of the security agencies that may need retooling. I'm sure the police equally would need vehicles. Lately, the only thing you see with them are the motorbikes that you find, in their large numbers. They may also need retooling. If you don't get pragmatic and it becomes the easiest and the laziest solution, such that, fuel prices, let's go and add it. Once you add, that tax will not go down any longer. The fuel price will not go down beyond that tax any longer. We added sanitation and pollution levy. Salom, we are still probably worse than before the sanitation levy came. We added energy sector levy. The more we have collected from Ghanaians, over 23 billion, the more the energy sector is in debt. So sometimes it is not just going out there to collect the money, but if there are problems and you would need to fix, roll up the sleeves and fix them pragmatically. Any other thing than just coming to say, let's add on to fuel. I am sure the minister is clearly frustrated. He would want to see an end to these fires. He would want to see a well-equipped fire service that when you call on them, you can be rest assured will be up to the task. But the solution being proffered, I think that we will need to do a thorough introspection of these solutions, because it might end up creating even bigger problems than we currently would have to deal with on this economy. I don't think that is feasible enough.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dan Kalama, Executive Secretary, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, speaking to us on that suggestion by the Interior Minister that some 10%, 10 pesos should be put on petroleum products to raise money to retool the Ghana National Fire Service. Natali Neti has some more stories.
The Ghana National Fire Service has, however, welcomed the Interior Minister's proposal to allocate 10 pesos per litre of fuel purchase to fund the procurement of fire tenders. Speaking to Citi News, the head of public relations for the GNFS, Desmond Aka, also suggested increasing the levy on water bills for fire services to 3%.
I think it's a good move. If that could be implemented, it will go a long way to help us. So it's a good call. We welcome it. But we would also want to propose even another thing. Inch up a certain percentage on our water bill. Ghana Water takes, I think, 1% for firefighting purposes. So if that could also be increased to about 3%, 1.5 goes to Ghana Water, which they can even use it for maintenance and building of new hydrants, so that the 1.5% also comes to Ghana National Fire Service to augment what the minister has also proposed to Cabinet, subject to Cabinet's approval.
Desmond Aka is the head of public relations for the Ghana National Fire Service. Now, the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, has announced that 40 out of over 1,300 missing containers belonging to the Electricity Company of Ghana have been traced and confiscated. The discovery followed an investigative report that revealed ECG had 2,491 uncleared containers filled with cables and other essential equipment at the Tema port. However, an independent audit found only 1,134 containers, leaving 1,357 unaccounted for. Speaking in an interview on Accra-based TV3, John Jinapor indicated that the containers were found in a warehouse owned by an Indian national who has since been arrested following intelligence gathered by the national security operatives.
The briefing I got this morning, and let me comment the national security operatives and the law enforcement agencies. The information I got this morning is that already they've traced about 40 of them to a particular terminal or warehouse in Pung, which belongs to an Indian man of extraction. And they've confiscated all the 40 containers, and they are moving them to a secured location. The man indicates that those containers were sold to him last year, and so that's a subject of a matter of investigation, and the law enforcement agencies would ensure that the law takes its course. There are also reports of some other areas that they are picking intelligence. They will trace all of them, retrieve all the containers as soon as possible, and put the perpetrators before the courts of competent jurisdiction. Let me just sound that when we start prosecuting these people, let nobody come to say we are witch hunting. These are properties of the states, every legitimate and legal means to ensure that we retrieve them and to hold all those behind these acts to account. And so we'll continue to work hard and ensure that we retrieve all these containers. Picked up this Indian in connection with this.
John Jinapo is the Minister for Energy and Green Transition. A water shortage at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital has forced the Doctors Association to announce the immediate suspension of some surgical procedures. The crisis, which began last week, has severely impacted orthopedic and emergency directorates. In a memo dated March 25, 2025, the association formally notified management and called for urgent intervention. Hospital management says steps have been taken to address the issue, with ongoing efforts in collaboration with the Ghana Water Company for a permanent solution. The hospital's public relations officer Kwame Frimpong is appealing for a dedicated water supply line to ensure a regular flow of the facility.
Close to 10 days now, we've not had water supply from the Ghana Water Company. I think they had some issues, and therefore they curtailed supplies to us. We try to depend upon our reservoirs, but we are such a big community that the water consumption here is very high. Our operations is also said that it's water dependent for infection prevention and control purposes. And so our reservoirs were exhausted, and we tried to get supplies from private tanker operators. We spoke to Ghana National Fire Service, and we also spoke to KMA. They all helped us to some extent, but as I indicated, the scale of our operations and the number of people who reside in this enclave are so huge that that was the supplies or the support that we're getting from all these partners proved to be inadequate. We are trying to see if we can drill more boreholes, but as I've told you, because of our location, it has not been quite fruitful in terms of the yield. So we do not expect that will provide a permanent solution. That's why there's the need for the government to invest in getting us a dedicated line, and also the expansion in the main reservoir that we have at the moment. For a hospital like this to be denied of service for 10 days, I mean, it's quite unthinkable.
Kwame Frimpong is the Public Relations Officer of the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. The Managing Director of the Ghana Water Limited, Adam Mutawakilu, says the government requires over $300 million to resolve the water crisis in Tamale, Yendi and Damongo in the northern and savannah regions. The persistent water shortage has intensified calls for government intervention. To manage the situation, he has directed the Chief Manager of the Ghana Water Company in the northern region to implement a water rationing schedule for fair distribution across Tamale and its surrounding areas. During his first official visit to the region since assuming office, he stated that the government is working to secure funding for the project.
The president was voted for to reset Ghana agenda going forward, and he has made a very emphatic statement at Yendi when he visited the Yana, that by the term of his office, water supply to Damongo, Tamale, and Yendi should be a thing of the past. By the time he visited to goodbye them, they should have water. We are the technical arm of the water supply, and I want to say that whatever he has said, inshallah, will work around the clock to make sure that it comes to fruition. We are not sleeping. We are working hard. The amount involved is quite huge. But with the determination of the president, it is possible. Because the total amount is almost $302 million. Damango about $50 million. Tamale about $223 million. And Yendi $30 million. So it will be a huge investment. And President Mama is determined to source funding for this project.
Adam Mutawakilu is the managing director of the Ghana Water Limited.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll take a short break. When we return, we will do point blank. But before that, a few of the messages that have come through. This one on the missing ECG containers. Carlos says, I asked who was the board chairman then. Said if the honorable minority leader, it's the honorable minority leader, and he knows, you allege that he knows about it. This one says, this one from Jeffrey from Kaswa says, the president is not the one to determine the prima facie case against the CJ. It is the Council of State. The jurisdiction of the Supreme Court is being invoked, and the CJ, the accused being the head of the Superior Court or the head of the court, will empanel the members of the bench to determine her fate. Said this country is something, well, that's an administrative duty. Amausi IBI Star said the Chief Justice's demand for the president to provide petitions regarding her removal is needless and undermines judicial independence. Such actions create a precedent where the judiciary appears to be unduly influenced by the executive, eroding trust, etc. Ni Mate Commodore says Vincent is setting his own questions and answering them. This is how they keep misleading their supporters. Grant, how should the president determine prima facie case against CJ? Then what is the importance of the council? He said interesting. Aka Paul Jr. from Hafumim said the president is on a dismissal spree and nothing can stop him. We only pray this decision does not cause instability in the country. Alex Duane says the demands by the embattled CJ are not provided for in Article 1466. I therefore think they are unfounded. We take a short break. When we return, Citi Business News will be up next. Don't go away.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Sewudru krum na wote yes charcoal toothpaste aya no ya hwe yie na obi amfa so kwan na no wa chenchena esa ne se charcoal toothpaste bebre ane wodwa so nanso nya ne nyina na yema wo se titiru mpo ne se wo nyini no bon ho modin se wo beto charcoal toothpaste a ye di bidia ankasa ye na enya dai kekene bi agumu na wodi yin keka wa firu simu na wo se nya hoden na se efita to charcoal toothpaste fluoride ewo mu na bo se ho ban na mana ye din da ekosi se obobo akokora na sa abrewa Pepsodent charcoal toothpaste dear what dibidie lemon mint ana zinc ana akabomu aye enti ma wosia din na wonum so ahwam de mu ni nyina Pepsodent dear yenim no dada o enti wasan de bidie lemon and mint akabomu aye dear ene na kire se yesen adamfo no ebem wonum ahwam na abo se ho ban afri kikawa bia mu to Pepsodent charcoal toothpaste fetwi usin na ma se ho ban abrebia
Gasaba. Smoke from firewood and charcoal is harmful and as damaging to our lungs as cigarettes. It can cause heart diseases leading to stroke and may even affect our eyesight in the long run. Grandmothers, mothers, sisters, wives, men, caterers, and everyone still cooking with charcoal, let's switch to LPG gas. The National Petroleum Authority has introduced the cylinder recirculation model in collaboration with local partners to make gas more accessible in all local communities. Whether you own a cylinder or not, join our CRM initiative. Simply show up at any exchange point near you with a small down payment to receive a filled cylinder or swap your empty one. Regular safety checks will be in place. Say a bisa musemo or gas. Afe die gasaba. Switch from firewood and charcoal to gas for a better and healthier life. This message is brought to you by the National Petroleum Authority and the Ministry of Energy.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens. Get the details. Every significant financial transaction. Every market.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Netili Neti Ajahu. Let's settle for the details now. MTN Ghana has reported a solid financial performance for 2024 with a total service revenue growth of 34.5% compared to the previous year. According to the company's 2024 annual report, this was fueled by increased mobile data usage, expanding 4G and 5G coverage, and a surge in mobile money transactions. Speaking at the company's 2025 AGM, CEO Stephen Blewett noted that despite the strong performance, MTN Ghana faced challenges including currency depreciation and inflation.
Despite the challenging economic environment, MTN Ghana remains steadfast in pursuing its Ambition 2025 strategic priorities, which are centered on accelerating service revenue, maintaining prudent cost management, and delivering sustainable value to our stakeholders like you. Throughout the fiscal year, our concerted efforts and strategic initiatives yielded impressive results, with service revenue experiencing a remarkable 34.5% increase compared to the previous year, and EBITDA growing by 31.3% despite some margin compression. This success reflects the resilience of everyone at MTN. This mid-30s rise in service revenue was largely driven by an uptick in our data services, in mobile money services, and in a diverse range of all our digital services and enterprise services. The growth reflects not only the increasing demand from our customer base, but also our strategic investments aimed at enhancing 4G connectivity, thereby improving customer acquisition.
That was the CEO of MTN Ghana, Stephen Blewett. On his part, Board Chairman Ishmael Yamson said shareholders will receive a final dividend payment of 24 pesos per share.
As part of our commitment to responsible management, our team took steps to carefully manage expenses and keep costs in check, especially in a high inflationary environment. Despite the marginal dip in EBITDA margin, our profit after tax rose by 26.3%, well ahead of inflation from the previous year. These strong results highlight our dedication to achieving sustainable growth for the business, even in the face of very difficult circumstances. As a result of the performance of the company, the Board of Directors is pleased to recommend later a final dividend payment of 24 pesos per share to our shareholders for approval. For the financial 2024, the total dividend will therefore be 30.5 pesos per share, which includes an earlier payout of 6.5 pesos per share paid on September 6, 2024. The total dividend of 4 billion accounts for 80% of the company's profit after tax, which was 5 billion in 2024. This also shows a significant increase of 35.6% in the dividend per share compared to 2023.
Ishmael Yamson is the board chairman of MTN Ghana. Now, the Association of Ghana Industries is urging government to take decisive action in response to the World Bank's Business Ready report, which highlights key barriers to business growth in Ghana. One major concern raised in the report is the prolonged import clearance process, which takes an average of 14 days, significantly longer than in Morocco. According to the World Bank, this inefficiency is eroding investor confidence and hindering business operations. Reacting to the findings, AGI Chief Executive Officer Seth Chumakwaba called for urgent reforms to streamline port operations to enhance trade efficiency and competitiveness.
When we look into it, part of the reason, of course, the entrepreneurs, some of them account for this because they delay in clearing, they don't prepare adequately enough. But a lot of it has to do with the bureaucracy at the ports. There have been improvement over the years, but we still have a long way to go. Today, when you import anything that has any container that has mixed products, it comes to MPS, and then it has to be transported to the Jubilee terminal for processing. That process alone can take a day or two. Meanwhile, you are given 7 days to clear. That's the only 3 days you have. Even the banking processes has worsened recently. The ship owners used to have banks at their premises. You can just pay and then you get your receipt, get the clearance and go and clear. Today, you have to go to a bank, join a queue, then they give you a paying slip, which you come back to the ship owners and get a receipt before you take the receipt to customs to go and clear. 1 day is lost. So when you put it together, you lose a number of days. Within the shortest possible time, your 7 days is gone and you are paying demurrage, which is being taken out of the country. It used to be way higher though. In 2016, it was about $95 million. That's how much we were losing.
That was the CEO of the Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Chum Akwabo. And finally, Access Bank PLC has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting women-led businesses across the country. The bank stressed its dedication to organizing initiatives that foster entrepreneurial skills among women, including those owned by persons with disabilities. Speaking to the media at the conclusion of the 6th edition of the Womenpreneur Pitchathon, which awarded 50 finalists, Matilda Santos, the Group Head of Retail Banking at Access Bank PLC, underscored the bank's commitment to empowering women-led businesses and fostering their growth.
We started women banking 10 years ago in Ghana. Today, the regulator, which is the Bank of Ghana, now requires every bank to have a women's desk. That should tell you the foresight that went into setting up a whole team for women. And now that we're happy to see other banks, other financial, even the central bank recognize that, we can only continue to do better because the market is big, the opportunity and the need for support is a lot. And as a financial institution, we can't do it alone. So we're happy that we set the pace, and now the central bank has followed and a lot more financial institutions are following. So we can only do better and go higher and continue to impact women businesses across the country.
That was the Group Head of Retail Bank and Access Bank PLC, Matilda Asante Isiru. And that's all for business news on Eyewitness News. I am Neteli Neti Ajawo. Up next is Point Blank.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Oh, jump on now. Go. Go me. At what time will you come back where I don't hear the sound of your car? Why you buy new car?
No, I not change my car. It be the same right. It be the fuel where I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so.
This is the type of fuel where they want to. Cause now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it, it go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I go drive, sir.
Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mind self be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. Won't pay when I open there.
Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel?
Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you.
Hey, then make a finish my gobe fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why your hand my gobe inside?
I give you info. Make a feel the gobe too small.
Go.
Joe Pana. Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
Football's magic never fades, even from the couch. The sound of halftime banter, replays at the touch of a button, cheering with my chosen crew, pure game magic. It's like I'm there, but with a better view from the comfort of my home. Priceless! From the March 3rd to April 30th, pay with your MasterCard, online or in-store, and stand a chance to win a unique priceless viewing experience of the UEFA Champions League final for you and your friends. MasterCard, proud supporter of non-stop fans. T's and C's apply.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
"25 minutes to the top of the hour. This is Point Blank on Eyewitness News. Tonight on Point Blank, we have a conversation with the Member of Parliament for Impraiso, the Honorable Davis Ansah-Poku, popularly called OPK. He's done his first term in Parliament. And indeed, this is the second term. The first term in Parliament was quite interesting because the numbers were even, very tumultuous at some times. And then in this Parliament, the numbers have not been friendly to the MPP. He is my guest tonight on Point Blank. Indeed, he will respond to some comments made by the Honorable Sam George in respect of NITA and Ghana Post as well. Honorable, good evening. Welcome to Point Blank.
Thank you, Shalom.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, it's a pleasure seeing you after a long while. How is Parliament? How is politics? I mean, how is frontline politics?
Well, it's not been easy, but I always thank God for giving us the opportunity to participate in the process. We're doing this way back in the university.
In school, yes, I remember. So you've taken it to the next level.
Yes, and I'm grateful to the good people of Imprise for giving me the opportunity to represent them. And I think they are not disappointed. That's why they gave me another
chance. Yeah, I should have looked at the numbers, but how comparing the first term's numbers to the just ended election. Of course, this just ended election was a sweep across the country.
Yes,
but how were your numbers? Did you improve? Did you drop?
Well,
because there were issues of voter turnout, etc.
Yes, so I think I suffered like any other constituency from low voter turnout. I mean. In the last election, I had like 25,000 votes, but in this election, I think I had close to about 17,000, and it was quite a sharp decline. But we all know the reasons why Ghanaian people refuse to vote, especially people who are sympathetic to my party, felt that we had not dealt with them well, so they stayed home. And for me, it's an indication that they still love the party because.
But are these concerns justified? You said you didn't deal with them well. Are these concerns justified?
Well, this whole politics is about perception. It's about what people think and say about you. And so, if the people who vote you in power, if the people who give you that mandate to represent them feel that there are things that they are not happy about, I think it's only prudent that as politicians you get back to the drawing table and try and address the concerns. I mean, we've seen people raise concerns about our delegate system, seen people raise concerns about their needs not being met whilst in government. Human needs are insatiable, so always, especially if you're in government, people would be expecting more. Even if you solve A, they would expect you to be doing B. If you solve B, they would expect you to be doing C. And so that has been the trend, and that is why probably maybe it's been
but
difficult.
People also think that at some point you guys were not listening anymore. You thought you had it all, so you were no longer listening. Of course, human needs are insatiable, but human beings also are rational and they can understand that things are difficult or they can't have everything at once if you engage them properly. So one of the accusations against your tradition or your party is that at some point you were not listening anymore. You didn't care about what the people thought. You just did what you did.
Well, I really do not think that is the case. I seriously do not think that is the case. In this enterprise, unlike in the advanced democracies, for instance, if you're an MP, the expectation on the MP is quite huge. I mean, if a gutter is choked, people want to blame the MP for it. If a school building is stripped, people want to blame the MP for it. Unlike advanced democracies like the UK and the US, where they appreciate the fact that we elect you there, first of all, to have an oversight responsibility over the executive, and also to represent the constituency in lawmaking, and also, I mean, when the need arises, to champion the very concerns that the people have. But in a part of the world, that is not the case.
Yeah, but you brought it upon yourself, right? So when you go around, you promise roads, you promise markets, you promise all the things that perhaps the assembly should be doing.
Yeah.
People think that if we make, for example, the district chief executive position elective, this would take some burden off you, because now the district chief executive, like the MP now, will be seeking to impress the constituents or their people and sell, their vision to them about how they want to improve the community or the district, and that will, take the focus of the MP being a development agent from you and put it where it is properly supposed to be. You share that view as well?
Yes, I do. But and rightly so. I mean, during electioneering campaign, there are two persons that people will be voting on. One is the parliamentary candidate,
the president,
and the presidential candidate. At that point, we don't know who becomes the DC or the MC. Now, if you're a parliamentary candidate, you are coming on the ticket of a political party, and the party has a manifesto. So it is incumbent upon you as a parliamentary candidate
to sell that.
And so, in so doing, the people feel that once you come to me and tell me, and NPP wins, we are going to do this, we are going to do that, and the NPP wins, and those promises are not being met, then certainly the MP has to be blamed for it. And so when we get to the point of voting to elect the MMDCs, I think it's going to wipe away this kind of perception. The people will appreciate the fact that the MP's role is to sit in Accra and be making laws and to be championing or advancing advocacies that would help the constituency and largely help the country as a whole. I mean, and I'm sure that, and I'm praying that in the just announced constitutional committee that the president has set up, constitutional review committee that the president, they fast track their work, and we get to the point of electing MMDCs. It's going to save us a lot. Look at London. Mayors of big cities are elected. So the people know that when it comes to development, when it comes to town planning, when it comes to cleanliness, those are the roles of the mayors. But when it comes to lawmaking, when it comes to having oversight responsibility over
the roles of the MP.
That is the role of the MP. So once we get there, I'm sure things will balance and it will really help us.
I see. This parliament obviously feels very different compared to the previous one you were in. I mean, the one before the previous one was quite a cool one for the MPP that was in government at the time. We got into a very competitive parliament, 137, 1371. That was when you entered parliament. I mean, and this time too, how do you compare the two? I mean, of course, you are in government, you're in a position now, your numbers are fewer compared to how it was before. What are the dynamics? How do you compare the two?
Well, the 8th parliament was an interesting one. It had not happened before. I mean, having that hung system of parliament.
And an opposition speaker.
Yes, and an opposition speaker. Sometimes I say that I think Bagbin did.
He did well.
He did well in managing the house. I mean, people would disagree with me, but I feel he handled the house quite well. Certainly is human. Sometimes you see some biases, but when it came to the parliamentary work, I mean, presiding over the business of the house, he ensured some fairness. I mean, in his dealings.
People say such a house needed a very experienced person to handle, and he was the best person.
I think it did. I mean, both Professor Kwe and Speaker Bagbin were experienced.
Any of them could have done it.
Yes, and I'm grateful that Bagbin handled it well. So it brought some challenges. I mean, especially in lawmaking and when there are issues and partisanship gets into it.
There's no progress.
There's no progress because people are now looking at their political fortunes and the political advantages they will be scoring out of every issue that pops up in the house.
But it's a very different parliament now.
It is. I mean, you now have an absolute majority. We are in the minority, and we have a responsibility to keep government on its toes. And I think we are doing quite well. We are doing, the work as should be done
by the minority.
We have a responsibility. I mean, you do not expect MPs in government to be criticizing the government. You'll be seen as an enemy in your party. Though in the last parliament you saw a
few of them. The Ken was going on.
Yeah. But in this parliament, it's quite difficult for an NDC member of parliament to want to go against. And the whip system also works in a kind of parliament.
So it's less than 3 months of the new government, and of course in the new parliament. What would be your assessment of this government? I mean, less than 3 months in office. What would you say will be your assessment so far? They promise a number of things, and especially in the first 120 days, it does appear that they are ticking those boxes. Talked about economic dialogue that has been done, education forum that has been done or largely done, ongoing, repealing some taxes. I mean, that appears to have been done. Setting up the gold board and all of that. All those things appear to be taking shape. So, what would be your assessment of the new government?
Well, for me, I would want to wait until after the budget is passed. I want to give them a bit of space to operate, and also to see how the year ends before I do an assessment. I mean, for instance, if you say you were going to appoint 60 ministers and you do that, for me, it's not an achievement that you should expect that I applaud you over, because it was contained in your manifesto. Those were your promises, and you have achieved that. But the real issues are the bread and butter issues. the stabilization of the cedi.
They say the gold board will do that. So the gold board is a way of doing that. I mean, they're repealing the taxes will keep some money in our pocket. I mean, the finance minister, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, says repealing e-levy and those taxes means that 2 billion cedis is being left in the pocket of Ghanaians and all of that. So that improves the living conditions.
Well, you see, Salam, first of all, I'm a member of parliament. I'm representing my people. And for me, what matters most to me is that my people are comfortable. And so if they implement policies that will ensure or that aims to ensure that my people are okay, I'm going to applaud them for that. And you know that I don't mince words when it comes to that. But like I said, let's wait until such a time when we would be we get to a point where we can do proper assessment. I mean, establishing gold board, abolishing e-levy, all of those are not really matters that we should be rushing to either applaud or condemn the government on. I want to allow them some space.
I see. Well, one of the things that is defined the first few months of the government is that letter from the chief of staff that certain people will be made to go home, persons who were employed after December 7 be made to go home. Other quarters have interpreted that to mean that there will be a review of the process and we'll see how that goes. You've taken issues with the communications minister, Sam George, for sacking some people from certain agencies, and you think that it is not his job to do, but he has an instruction from his boss, the chief of staff, to do so, and so that's what he has instructed his people to do, and that's what has happened.
Well, Salam, I doubt if the chief of staff instructed Sam George to dismiss persons who were employed at NCA as at July 19, 2017. I have with me a letter of an offer of appointment as zonal manager Kufuria office for NCA. The gentleman, his interview was held on June 30th, 2017. And his job started from August 1st, 2017. Now, this is a gentleman who has worked for near 8 years at the National Communications Authority. Sam George comes in, writes a letter to the persons involved saying that he's terminated the appointment. See, this whole environment ought to be checked. If anybody says somewhere and says that when the MPP were in power they did not do same, I would disagree with the person. But
so it's a cycle, it's a vicious cycle.
It's not proper.
Yeah, so the concern is that when it gets to your turn, you want people to stop. No. But you did it to people and you didn't mind or care about what the people felt at the time.
There are instances where persons were, for instance, the directive from the chief of staff saying that anybody who is employed after December 7th should go home. For me, I tend to somewhat agree a bit because it puts a lot of burden on the wage bill of government. It puts a lot of burden on government. So the government would need a bit of space to be able to accumulate enough, and if there's a need to employ, they go ahead to employ people. But not somebody who was employed in August 2017. And you see, NCA is an independent regulatory body. The laws establishing the NCA says that nobody, including the Minister for Communication or even the President, can interfere in the management of the authority. The Minister only provides policy advice to the NCA. It's an independent regulatory authority that has been established. And so if you are a minister and you think that OPK is working at NCA, so you do not even want OPK to work at NCA, I think the proper thing for you to do is to find fault with OPK and instruct the NCA to do that. But you do not just write letters. Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, dismissing people. It is improper. If this person,
what reason was given in the
no reason. I know Section 16 of the Labour Act is very clear that you need to give the person reasons. You need to offer the person an opportunity to explain himself if there's a need to. Nothing, no reason, nothing was offered to this gentleman, and they were just sacked. And I'm saying that if this gentleman proceed to court and the court rules in their favor, what this means is that then judgment debt will now be hanging around the NCA. But why can't we allow NCA as an independent body to operate? Why does some judge want to micromanage agencies under him? Ghana Post is an independent Ghana Post is a limited liability company that generates its own funds. They are not under government subvention. And so and from the reports yesterday, 3 days today, we met with the authorities at Ghana Post. When you look at their financials, they are doing extremely well.
They are doing well?
Yes. So if Ghana Post decides that based on their plan, based on their strategy, based on technological advancement and all of that, they would want to employ a lot more people. And they start the process. A board approval was given August 2023. The process began in August 2024. September 2024, people went for interviews. By November, they had done their medicals, and letters were issued for them to start work, some on December 5th. To start work on December 5th. Why would you want to terminate their employment? Is it because they were employed during an MPP era? Is that a practice that we want to stay? For me, it is not proper. I mean, we have had instances where similar things have happened in times past. But for me, it is wrong. What is wrong, and we all must condemn. And I'm sure that is why Ghanaians voted for John Mahama, because they believe that there's going to be a reset of this whole enterprise. So if the president is promising a reset, and you come in and you want to politically victimize people because of a perceived political affiliation of these persons, I don't think it's right. It's not something that we should encourage.
I see. I don't know what's between yourself and Sam George, but you appear to be matching him boot for boot. You know, recently he also talked about the debt at NITA and the fact that, you know, the NITA's accounts were virtually empty. You know, the 25 cedis or so in the account he has seen. And you gave a very sharp response to that.
Yeah, I did, and I think that some judge is being disingenuous. I mean, is not being truthful to the Ghanaian people. He is aware that January, the Minister for Finance, in an attempt to pay off bonds and all of that, instructed the Controller and Accountant General to sweep from state agencies funds in their accounts. And so in February, the Controller and Accountant General withdrew all monies that were being held for and on behalf of state agencies, some by BOG. And some judge knows if is
no, but let me understand that. The directive was to sweep all accounts.
Yes.
So the state agency shouldn't have money to do anything.
A lot of them didn't have money. And in fact, and you can call state agencies and find out from them. So when that happened, on February 4th, the management of NITA wrote a letter to the finance minister through the Minister for Communications, explaining to them that they have obligations. They wrote to the minister telling them that they have obligations and that there's the need to pay some companies. These are recurring expenditures, some renewal of licenses, some solutions that are being provided and all of that. And you see, the minister goes further to say that there's a huge debt hanging
over the agency.
The agency, which he knows that is not true. To say that 834 million or
813 million.
13 million, yes. But the minister is aware that when COVID struck, government took a decision to implement what they call the smart workplace solution, where every agency of state were to be provided with a Microsoft system. They were given a lot of initiatives so that they are able to work whilst at home. The minister is aware. And this was a government of Ghana decision. NITA was just an implementing agency. And this was a policy that was initiated by the Ministry of Communications and the Ministry of Finance.
He said, for example, that all those services are operated using NITA's infrastructure.
Yes.
The generated revenue is funneled to a third-party firm, leaving a meager 25 cedis in NITA's accounts. So that's quite, interesting. And it says that NITA, for example, has 25 cedis. So this is a quote: 8 pesos in its bank balance, as its bank balance at the Bank of Ghana. Meanwhile, the agency owes 813 million. This is the ministry we took over. That's a fact, you know.
But he also would appreciate that most of the agencies under him sublet a lot of the services. If you go to MCA and NCA, most of their agencies are handled by third parties. I mean, some of their softwares are handled by third parties, and he's aware of this. So it is not out of place.
So if third parties are handling it and you're not making profit, then what's the point?
But you see, it's a solution that government is enjoying. You do not expect to make profit out of this. I mean, it's like saying that at Citi TV, you guys maybe you use
Channel
maybe
1
Slack or Channel 1
TV.
You guys use Slack for your day-to-day communication. It's part of your...
It's part of operational cost.
Yes, operational cost. And so if NITA is the agency supervising that, and a debt comes and an impression is created that there's a huge debt, when he himself...
But you see, that's not the only thing NITA does. NITA has infrastructure which can be leveraged upon by the institution itself to make money. So if that is not happening, and rather there is a debt of over 800 million, that is a concern, really.
Well, if it's a concern, you need to be truthful to the Ghanaian people. Don't create an impression that this is a NITA debt. You should appreciate the fact that it's a government of Ghana debt, and it's not like the services are no longer in use. Today, as a minister, the email systems that he uses at the ministry is being provided by this same solution. It's a third party that is operating it, but it's being provided by this same solution. And so that impression that is a huge debt that is hanging around and that nobody... See, the impression is created as if there's been some chop somewhere and all of that. And I don't think it's proper.
Talking about chop, that's a general allegation. And now it does appear that this government is going after persons they perceive as corrupt. And indeed, a number of names have come up, a number of people have been invited or searched. So recently we heard of Peter Mewu over the $2 million feasibility study for the Sky Train. We've seen the matter of Kwabna Eduboahin and a few other people. How does this make the minority or the MPP now in opposition feel? Do you feel that this government is out to get you, or you think that it's in line with accountability and that you have served in government, so you should be amenable to the tools of accountability?
Well, for me, anybody who served in any position of governance should be accountable to the people. And I'll really be disappointed in the government if there are persons who have embezzled funds or who have caused financial loss to the state and are not being dealt with. But sometimes it's the processes, the house. I mean, by simple invitation, you could invite people to come to you. Why wait at dawn, driving Land Cruisers with sirens, get into people's homes, Rambo style, as if they have engaged in some criminality, when the laws clearly states that they are innocent until proven guilty.
But searches are part of the process. I can invite you to the police station or to the investigative outfit, but I may need to see some things in your home, and so that is provided for by law. So once I do so with a warrant, I should be covered.
I mean, it should not lead to destruction of properties. I mean,
but has any property been destroyed?
We saw what happened at the BOG, the former Bank of Ghana governor's residence. I mean, CCTVs being
there were some explanations given to that.
That what?
That he was monitoring things, etc.
The Attorney General has stated clearly that was in the case.
He said he didn't know that.
Well,
but maybe the investigative bodies know.
But how will a CCTV system in someone's house be monitoring BOG? How do we chip in the security system of our country?
It could be high level security. It could be high level installation.
It's not proper. It cannot happen. To do that, you need some huge infrastructure. I'm not sure the residents of the BOG boss one would have those facilities. So we ought to be careful. I mean, this thing did not start today. It's been there.
Very well.
But we need to have an end to the cycle.
Great. So I mean, just talk to your people. I mean, and everybody. It's Easter time. I mean, and Kwewu and paragliding and Easter is such a big event. What's the show this time? What's happening? What's the show this time?
Well, I think this time there's an improved people should expect an improved Easter. The people of Kwahu and the Ghana Tourism Authority are putting in place a lot of exciting news, exciting events. I mean, this time we have pilots coming all the way from the USA, from the UK, from Russia, coming to participate in the process. I mean, I have had calls from persons living outside the country who want to come and enjoy themselves. But it's an opportunity to come and experience the rich Kwahu culture. It's an experience to see what we have to offer. I always say that Kwahu has the best baby making weather, and it's one thing that I want everybody to
come and make babies there.
Salom, I'm inviting you. Come to Kwahu.
Come and make babies there.
Oh well, you can come with madam. I mean, come and enjoy yourself
and make babies
and make some beautiful Kwahu babies. Certainly, what you should expect is that the babies should be a bit black. They will be a bit dark.
Even with the good weather, you claim.
Oh yes, I mean that's how unique Kwahu is. And so, I mean, it's exciting. We are on it. We are promoting Easter, encouraging as much as possible every Ghanaian to visit Kwahu. And an assurance that we are giving to the people is that Kwahu Easter will be peaceful. Nobody should expect any mayhem. The place is generally peaceful. There are no issues in Kwahu, and everybody.
I think there were some issues recently. Those matters have been dealt with.
I mean, there are no issues. I mean. Those are bedroom matters. It doesn't affect the general event atmosphere.
Very well.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, OPK.
Thanks
It's been a pleasure having you around.
Thank you so
been
much.
a good conversation. So that's David's Ansa Opoku.
Your mate.
We popularly call him OPK. Yes, my mate in the university, and it's been a good colleague. This is how we conclude today's edition of Point Blank, and it's been live from our studios here in Accra. Show produced by Nana Kwabena Wilson, Sami Afe, Fred Jabano, Beverly London, Juliana Ordami, and Manoa Yama. Technical assistance provided by Daniel Squashi. Earlier you heard Nathalie Nete Jaho. My name is Selom Adunu. Of course, my guest for Point Blank was Davis Ansopoku. Thanks so much for doing the listening. Have a good evening.
Citi News. We speak first. Reach our hotline on 0302 224959 and get interactive on Facebook, Citi 97.3 FM, and on Twitter at Citi 973.
94, 95, 96, 97.3 Citi FM. It doesn't get any better than that.
Get ready as we take you back to your roots for an unforgettable experience and treat you to delectable, authentic Ghanaian cuisine from the Akan, the northern, and southern villages at the Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025. Let's also treat